Hey guys, it's day 55, 28 degrees out here. There's enough of a steady breeze and wind that just kind of still cuts through and makes things feel a whole lot colder. I'm out here in the Nike Air Force One lows. They are what they are. They are rocks on feet. They're heavy, they're clunky, but they're fantastic. The Air Force Ones, I don't think really ever go out of style. They're such a classic look, such a cool look. I wore them just the other night. You can pair them with just about anything. You can't expect performance out of these things in comparison to modern day sneakers, but they're just built to last. Like, you can get a pair of Air Force Ones and you can rock them for 10, who knows, maybe 20 years. You take care of them and you wear them just every now and then. The materials just last, man. It's always crazy to me when I think back to shoes like this and think this is what people in the 80s had to play with. And prior to that, the Chuck Taylors, and you had the Converse Weapons and a lot of different types of shoes, but they were all pretty much of similar design and feel, which is just rough. But runners feel the exact same way because there's just been a lot of innovation between of the modern shoe market with the new foams and everything. Taking a look at what the runners used to run back, you run in the 70s compared to now, it's laughable. It does make you wonder though, some of those elite runners from the past or elite basketball players from the past, had they had the shoes that modern players have today, what they could have done. Growing up as a kid in the 80s, it's not like we thought like we didn't have stuff. I mean, we were the Nintendo generation and we were watching Saturday morning cartoons. I don't know. There were shoes around, really cool shoes around. It was, life was good. Life wasn't bad. The athletes were heavily marketed and we wanted the shoes, you know. We saw Olympic athletes on Wheaties boxes. We wanted to be like Mike, and it just seemed like it was a good time to be alive. Music was great. No one was going around hating America. In fact, most of us were proud to be Americans, and we showed it. Waving the flag, we had no problem with that. At that point in our lives, the whole bitter disdain and of just segregation and all of that, it was mostly a memory, especially for kids. We had no idea what any of that stuff was about. And because of that, with Gen X, racism really wasn't an issue. We grew up with everybody and got along with everyone. We looked up to minorities. It wasn't a problem. Everybody got along. Loved Michael Jackson. Loved Michael Jordan. All my favorite athletes were African American. Most of my favorite musicians were African American. And then the 90s came in, and it kind of, during Bill Clinton's era, just seemed like everything started to enter this discussion of political correctness. All of a sudden, when it came to the discussion of minorities in the country, it was like white people didn't even know what we could call them. Do we call them African American? Do we call them black? Do we call them people of color? It was just all political correctness nightmare. In the mid 90s is when I remember things just became a lot more complicated and got to a point where you had to start watching out what you said, just in terms of political correctness. It was like the earliest form of cancel culture. But getting back to the shoes, it was a great time to be alive. We started seeing a lot of innovation in regards to shoe design, and maybe not so much of shoe technology, but they definitely had some things they tried out. But in terms of shoe design, it was an awesome time to be alive. I remember getting East Bay catalog and just looking at that thing for hours and wish, like writing down the shoes that I wanted, but never once did I get to order anything out of those things. They were way too expensive. Didn't stop me from wishing though. And despite the shoe innovation that was going on around in the 90s, they were still limited by the foam compounds that they had discovered at that point. Even in Michael Jordan's later championship years, he was playing in some shoes that had gotten to a point where the innovation had included like a carbon fiber plate. And now we see Nike using that same technology in their racing super shoes. We also have Chinese brands like Li Ning that are making the way of Wade shoes with a really nice foam compound and a carbon fiber plate. Additionally, they've done more research on the rubber compound, making the rubber even grippier than it say would have been in the 90s. You can find countless testimonials from NBA players, people that played in his era, even some modern players that after going back and watching Jordan or understanding how he played the game, if they were playing right beside him, they say that he would have easily, with the new rules of today's game, he would average at least 40 points, at least. But we're talking about a guy that played literally every game that he could, and he played them in shoes that, at least in the early part of his career, were extremely minimal in design and features. It's hard to say what Jordan would average, but most people just take into consideration the rule changes. But you got to look at just the ability to travel now in the NBA, the additional sports medicine knowledge that they've learned over the decades, the load management, and the shoe technologies that would be available to him now. Oh my God. You know, it is not unreasonable to think that the dude could have averaged 45 to 50 a game. And I mean, dude was ridiculous. And the dude wasn't playing against nobodies. Take a look at Karl Malone. Take a look at John Stockton's records. Just take a look at that. Take a look at Reggie Miller and how good of a threat he was. He played against guys like David Robinson, Shaq. I mean, and later on in his career, Kobe and AI. So these guys are no slouches. He didn't play against plumbers. Go watch Penny Hardaway play. Go watch Magic Johnson play and Larry Bird play. Luka is great, and Steph, they got best shooter in the game. But I'm telling you, like, as weird looking as Larry Bird is out on that court, he'd still put it in their eye. I guarantee you, he put it in their eye. When you take a look at guys like Luka and Joker in this era, I mean, they are not physical specimens at all, but they know how to play the game, and that's how Larry was. And he would fit right in with all of this today. In fact, he'd be even better today because you can't touch him. And I guarantee you, players that played back in the 90s with all those bad shoes would still be highlight reels today. Jason Williams, Allen Iverson, Vince Carter. I mean, these guys came a little later and stuff, but still, they would be highlight reels today. Now give those guys shoes with better energy return, better cushion. God. And it makes you wonder how much longer guys like Jordan and Scottie and Barkley, Larry Johnson could have played if they didn't have to walk on freaking rocks all day long. I could talk about the NBA for a long time. I don't know what else I can say about these shoes, these Air Force Ones. I mean, they're durable as crap, can last forever, but they're heavy and they look great. They're not comfortable. A plantar fasciitis hurts pretty much this entire time, but it is what it is. That's going to do it for today. Thank you all for watching. I'll talk to you later.